That You Looking At, White Horse, is a song by the American singer-songwriter Taylor Swift and the second single from her second studio album, Fearless, 2008. Big Machine Records released the track to U.S. country radio on December 8, 2008. Swift wrote White Horse with Liz Rose and produced it with Nathan Chapman, an understated country pop ballad. The song is driven by a finger-picked guitar and includes piano and cello accents. The lyrics incorporate fairy tale imagery of princesses and white horses. The narrator is heartbroken upon realizing that her boyfriend is not an ideal figure like she thought, and in the end she leaves her town with hopes of finding somebody more worthy. Music critics lauded White Horse for what they deemed a somber production and a portrayal of universal feelings arising from heartbreak, but some found the lyrics uncreative. At the 2010 Grammy Awards, the track won Best Country Song and Best Female Country Vocal Performance. In the United States, the single peaked at number 13 on the Billboard Hot 100 and number 2 on the Hot Country Songs chart, and the Recording Industry Association of America certified it double platinum. The song also charted in Australia, Canada, and the United Kingdom. It received certifications in the first two countries. Trey Fanjoy directed the song's music video, which depicts Swift reliving memories with her ex-boyfriend and her discovery of his infidelity after having ended their relationship through a phone call. The video premiered on February 7, 2009, on CMT, and it became the first video to debut at number 1 on the network's countdown. Swift performed White Horse live at the 2008 American Music Awards, on her Fearless Tour, 2009-2010, and on certain dates of her later tours. Following the 2019 dispute regarding the ownership of Swift's back catalog, she re-recorded the song as White Horse, Taylor's version, for her 2021 re-recorded album Fearless, Taylor's version. Taylor Swift wrote songs for her second studio album, Fearless, while touring as an opening act for other country musicians to promote her first album Taylor Swift during 2007-2008, when she was 17 to 18 years old. Continuing the romantic themes of her first album, Swift wrote songs about love and personal experiences from the perspective of a teenage girl to ensure her fans could relate to Fearless. She said that nearly every album track had a face that she associated with it. The end product is a collection of songs about the challenges of love with prominent high school and fairy tale lyrical imagery. Swift and the producer Nathan Chapman recorded more than 50 songs for Fearless, and White Horse was one of the 13 tracks that made the final cut recorded by the engineer Chad Carlson. White Horse was produced by Swift and Chapman. Justin Niebank, assisted by Steve Blackman, mixed it at Blackbird Studio in Nashville. According to a note published in the liner notes of Swift's 2019 album Lover, part of the lyrics to White Horse, dated from December 2006, she wrote the first verse by herself, and Liz Rose helped her complete the song in 45 minutes. Swift completed writing White Horse weeks after she finished the lead single, Love Story, almost 1 year before the release of Fearless. Swift said she was inspired to write White Horse by the moment she realized all the fantasies she had about a boy turned out completely false. The subject was also the inspiration for Love Story. Swift never dated him and, although initially infatuated with him, realized he was not an ideal Prince Charming like she thought. She told the Daily Telegraph that she kept his identity anonymous so as to not glorify his inspirational qualities. Whereas both Love Story and White Horse feature prominent fairy tale lyrical imagery, Swift said it was important to regard fairy tales with both sides. The former song represented her optimistic and idealistic viewpoint on romance, and the latter her disillusionment with the said notion. Swift intended to leave White Horse off Fearless because she felt the album already had a fair share of sad songs. She changed the decision when the producers of Grey's Anatomy wanted to feature the song in the series. Swift recalled that at a meeting set up by her agency with the show's executive producers Shonda Rhimes and Betsy Beers, she played White Horse alone on guitar and they freaked out. The song appeared on the premiere of Season 5, broadcast on September 25, 2008. Swift was elated by the feature and said it was her life goal to have her song on Grey's Anatomy. One of her favorite series, White Horse, was released as an album cut on Fearless on November 11, 2008, by Big Machine Records. On December 8, Big Machine released the song to US country radio as the second single from the album. In the United States, White Horse debuted and peaked at number 13 on the Billboard Hot 100 chart week ending November 29, 2008. It gave Swift her sixth top 20 debut in 2008, which broke the record for the most top 20 debuts in a calendar year by an artist. On Hot Country Songs, the single peaked at number 2 on the chart week ending April 4, 2009. White Horse runs for 3 minutes and 54 seconds. It is a country pop ballad. Slant Magazine's Jonathan Keefe wrote that it has a pop hook. The song has an understated production driven by a finger-picked acoustic guitar alongside piano notes and cello accents. The sparse production highlights Swift's vocals that some critics found tender and breathy. For certain critics, the track's sound is melancholy and poignant. Jim Abbott from the Orlando Sentinel picked it as a track that represents the album's sad songs. The Arizona Republic's Ed Marsley attributed this quality to the haunting piano and dark, dramatic cello. Swift said the sparse production made White Horse a fearless track she was very proud of. The re-recorded White Horse, Taylor's version, has the same arrangement, but the cello in the introduction is more resonant and the outro is a little longer. The co-writer Liz Rose said the song is every teenage girl's dream song of everything she ever wished from a boy. In the lyrics, a narrator is heartbroken that the boyfriend whom she used to love turns out contrary to the ideal figure she had hoped for. The narrator and the boyfriend reside in a small town. In the refrain, she compares her romance to a fairy tale fallen apart. I'm not a princess. This ain't a fairy tale. I'm not the one you'll sweep off her feet, lead her up the stairwell. She then tells him that it's too late for and White Horse to return to her and rekindle the relationship. In the final refrain, the narrator says she will move on from him and escape her town for a bigger world outside, to find somebody else who is more worthy. This is a big world. That was a small town. There in my rearview mirror, disappearing now. Some lyrical motifs on White Horse reprise those on the preceding Fearless tracks. The narrator dreams of being a princess love story and compares the subject to an angel. Hey Stephen. Some critics said White Horse is a fearless track that explores the disconnect between fantasy and real life and an antithesis of the optimist lead single, Love Story, which explores a fairy tale-inspired romance that has a happy ending. Josh Love in The Village Voice found the lyrics to be from the perspective of a reborn realist. According to Gigwise's Kelsey Barnes, Swift's vocals in the re-recording no longer display the naivety and shame of feeling sad, and instead express the narrator's loss of innocence from a more reflective point of view. When White Horse was first released, some critics praised the song for what they deemed a portrayal of heartbreak that although told from a teenager's perspective. Appealed to a broad audience and not just Swift's target audience of teenagers. Love said its lyrics showcased preternatural wisdom and inclusiveness. And USA Today's Alyssa Gardner complimented the guileless urgency and unmannered precociousness. Other critics praised the production. Reviewing the single for Billboard, Deborah Evan Price wrote it appealed to many people because its production highlighted Swift's lyrics and heart on the sleeve vocals that the pain and disillusionment palpable. The Guardian's Alex McPherson lauded the breathtaking final refrain, and Keith, who picked the track as Fearless's best, complimented how strongly the hooks stand out. Newsday's Glenn Gamboa ranked White Horse 9th on a list of the 10 best songs of 2008. At the 2010 Grammy Awards, the single won Best Country Song and Best Female Country Vocal Performance. Reviewing the re-recorded White Horse, Taylor's version, some critics positively remarked how it retained the original's earnest emotion. In the New York Times, Joe Coscarelli found the re-recording's production fresh and refined, which elevated the original's songwriting. Keith, who initially criticized Swift's vocals as weak and restrained, wrote that they improved on White Horse, Taylor's version, which consolidated it as the album's best track. Alison Stewart of The Washington Post felt the re-recorded song, though a compelling track, drags a little. White Horse featured highly on some retrospective rankings of Swift's songs, such as those by Marsley, who highlighted the aching refrain, and The Guardian's Alexis Petridis, who praised its impressive subtlety. Some critics were not as complimentary and said the lyrics were uncreative. Roisin O'Connor of The Independent said the fairy tale indebted narrative was not as effective as that of the previous single. Love Story. Keith deemed the lyrical imagery well-worn, cliched, and NME's Lucy Harbron said it comes at the expense of emotional heft. The musicologist James E. Perrone deemed the lyrics familiar and generic, but contended that the track was effective because of Swift's performance and the engaging music and musical arrangement. Swift first performed White Horse at the 2008 American Music Awards on November 23. She donned a white evening gown and sang the song sitting on a floral-patterned couch. She again performed the song at a pre-awards concert for nominees of the 51st Annual Grammy Awards, which was held on December 3, 2008, at the Nokia Theatre in Los Angeles. At the concert, she was the only artist who performed her own song in addition to covering a song that had been inducted into the Grammy Hall of Fame. She sang a portion of Brenda Lee's I'm Sorry, 1960, before singing White Horse. In the Los Angeles Times, Ann Powers deemed Swift's rendition of White Horse the concert's best performance. In that moment, Swift had it all: tabloid heat and a firm hold on her brand, along with songcraft and the well-contained charisma of a career artist. White Horse was part of the set lists for Swift's 2009 headline festival performances, including Houston Livestock Show and Rodeo, the Florida Strawberry Festival, and Craven Country Jamboree. She also performed White Horse live at her Australian concert debut at the Tivoli in Brisbane on March 5, 2009, and on a November 2010 episode of Dancing with the Stars. Swift included White Horse in the set list of her first headlining concert tour, the Fearless Tour, 2009-2010, where she performed the song by herself on an acoustic guitar. At the Los Angeles concert on May 22, 2009, she sang White Horse in a duet with the singer-songwriter John Mayer on her later tours. Swift performed the song as a surprise number not part of the regular set list on select dates. She sang it at the Red Tour concert in Edmonton, June 2013, the 1989 World Tour concert in Los Angeles. August 2015, and the Reputation Stadium Tour concert in Arlington, October 2018. On the Eras Tour, Swift performed White Horse as a surprise song in Las Vegas, March 2023. And in Sydney, as a mashup with Coney Island, with Sabrina Carpenter, February 2024. This is the end of the video. Don't forget to subscribe. See you next time. Bye.